Yes, and we are live, and there's already a couple of people here, which is nice. Put these ostentatious little glasses down. This isn't the thing. We even know there's people here. We haven't started yet, Kate, so you can say anything you want.
Obviously, I could either think of nothing to say or the worst thing in the world to say in that instance.
Do it.
Yeah.
No, not at all. This, Kate, is Substack. It's not Twitter. You can't be doing all, Becky Owen. Do you know Becky? Hello, Becky.
Oh, hello, Becky. Hello
They
again. I
say
am
the
Becky.
worst thing.
Have you? Oh, her voice. She is one of the best
Good.
singer-songwriters that. Well, yeah, in a way, probably it's good for her sanity that the world doesn't know her as it should. If you see what I mean. But, like,
There's a story in that already.
yeah. Well, it's price of fame, isn't it? Like, I've
Well,
avoided that one entirely. Not quite entirely, mostly.
so hello, Kate. How are you?
Oh, how are you? Which, as we know, is quite a broad question. I'm on a adrenaline is kicking in because I'm doing a thing. But with a slight edge of this was one of those days where I didn't have anything else officially booked in.
Right.
So in a way, I'm relieved that the focus of my entire day is now actually happening.
Yes.
Instead of just being anticipated.
Yes, and maybe we'll touch on that again because it is interesting, the waiting, because I know that's something that I do. Dr. Kate Fox, poet, performer, academic, podcaster, journalist, workshop leader, raconteur. What have I missed off the list?
That's more than I thought, to be honest.
What? It's a really hacky question. Just popped in. What's on your passport?
Do you know? I quite literally don't know, and my passport is literally in front of me because I've just been away.
Where your passport is.
I did, yeah, it's just been away, and I literally thought, oh, it's just over there. Hang on, where does
Kate Fox, profession. The reveal is going to come to everybody, including you.
It is, except does it maybe not have the profession on it anymore?
Maybe it did in the 1950s.
Yeah, I think that was a thing. It's not a thing. I didn't have to commit to a profession.
Splice Girl has added advocate and activist.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's a good list. So tell me your story. That's what this is about. It's a conversation about creativity, really. It's a chance for me to talk to people doing brilliant things. And I've said this to you before. I'm kind of like down in, I'm going to use old money, first year, and you're like one of those sixth formers that one day, if I could get any close to being like when you've gone off doing things. I first came across you, probably fully aware of this, as aware of you as a stand up when on rural touring. And I saw some adverts for Bigger on the Inside, and it was like, oh, I've missed it. I did get to see it. So shall we start there? Bigger on the Inside, what's that?
Essentially, it is what was first a show about neurodiversity through a lens of Doctor Who, and now it's a book, as we can see, and it's also it's the name of my Substack that I don't post on often enough, but I will now that we're recording on it in this platform. But essentially, when Jodie Whittaker became the first female, doctor from Yorkshire, in the year that I became a doctor, that I got my PhD, and I got my autism diagnosis. These things, I was like, there's a flipping show in this, and obviously it's going to be called Bigger on the Inside, because the diagnoses of neurodivergence are still done around external behaviours. And of course, the important thing for those of us busy being neurodivergent humans is the inside stuff.
Representing newly diagnosed, myself, a couple of years now, maybe less, I don't know, but very, very important, but increasingly important part of me, and that's what I was drawn to the show. And then I very fortunately got to see the show in, I think you've had a couple of versions, maybe a transitional version like the Doctor. It's become something, all these different forms, and I know you're performing it again, and then to have the text, absolutely fabulous. But um those list of things that you do, I, we talk about neurodivergence and the flavors we have. The idea of sitting down and writing something, completing something, I can't imagine doing that. And sometimes I have to. But so how do you do it?
So, for a long time, I only did it if there was a deadline that felt urgent and someone was paying me, essentially, like for a long time. And maybe that was not, I don't know, it got me writing, and it meant I could even make a living as a writer. But I feel a bit more like I don't want to say it. I'm not. Oh, that's interesting. I will say it because I'll just follow the sentence where it was coming. Something like more of a proper writer, whatever that means. Now that I am able to do it in a more self-directed way, but it still involves me giving myself deadlines.
Why would you resist calling yourself a proper writer when you got like proper books? Yeah. And that's a genuinely interesting question, because I think, not as a creative, as perhaps a neurodivergent, maybe or maybe not, why are we resistant of labeling ourselves the things we're good at?
That's a good question, because I also want to. So, those books, and it's really nice to have books, but I said to a friend the other week, and I've been thinking about what I said ever since and been like, wow, do I mean that? I said, I don't think apart from my PhD, I don't think I've written the thing I'm supposed to write yet.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
But that is exciting, isn't it?
Because it's still to come. Exactly, it's still
Yeah.
to come. And what it is, so the things that I can write an individual poem that might be for performance, or it might be for radio, or it might be that I know it's more a page poem, and actually I can feel, oh, that's complete, that's done something I wanted to do at this moment that it needed to do. It's useful. I like poems to be useful in some way. It's fulfilled something good. And actually, so poetry, so actually, in one way, the answer to how can I write, well, often I can complete a short thing. That's what poems can do for you. But in terms of a, unmasked me, for starters, rarely gets a full tilt at writing for longer than a poem. And the process of unmasking after diagnosis, in my experience and in that of a lot of people I know, is ongoing and long and complicated. And if you are unmasking as a creative person, and your creativity has been quite entwined both with the ways that you mask and the ways that you unmask, you've probably got a bit of unpicking to do. And I think I'm on the verge of it, actually, possibly. Unmasked writerly me that still is going to fit into a actual publishing system of readers outside of my brain. So is there still some masking? I don't know, because I think there's more readers now who I think I could reach with unmasked me. That me It's got some thoughts about what it
It's
needs
got
to
some
do. It's
thoughts.
got some thoughts, and it's less. And because I'm more aware of that, I think I'm less likely to get sucked into a sort of publishing machine. And all the books that you held up, I think so. Where There's Mother's Brands was a commission. It was a show originally, non-fiction book about non women. Wouldn't have written it if the publisher hadn't come to me to ask to write it. Had to write it in a very linear, fact-based way. I can do facts and linear for a short period of time. Was a radio journalist. I can do 3-minute news bulletins, 3-minute stories about something. 80,000 words. Oof, that's a stretch. That's not my ideal thing. Sycamore Gap. Book about
Oh my goodness. Can I say, Kate, what a beautiful thing this is. Words and pictures. Tell us about this, and then I want to come back to the masking. So, hello to people that are joining us. This is a conversation that I'm having with Dr. Kate Fox, but we'll talk for about 25 minutes, and then I'd like it if you'd like to you can ask questions. Kate, I did tell you that was happening. I didn't ask if that's okay.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
but
you're.
we'll
I take it as read. Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see what the question is. Can I say what a beautiful thing this is? I want a giant version of this. Or you can't doesn't quite show how. Oh, there is a bit of gold if you can see it,
Yeah.
and the twinkle. Tell us about this.
So it's by far the most beautiful object I've ever been involved with, and I am a team. Really, I'm part of a team who helped make that object. Kat Moore, who is a brilliant illustrator, lives up in Orkney now, originally from the northeast, did beautiful illustrations, and we both. It was another commission, Harper North, who also commissioned Where There's Muck There's Bras. Essentially, realised Simon Armitage had got his Blossom Eyes book out that the National Trust had. Trying to think of another word than bankrolled because that feels inappropriate.
Commissioned.
Yes, thank you. And they were like, "Ooh, a hardback book. Hang on, Sycamore Gap. Ooh, poems. We've never done poems. Do we know any poets? Yes, we published one. Oh, she's from quite near there." For me, it was an absolute. Well, I said I want it to be a hopeful book, and I want it to have the voices of the people of the Northeast in. And so again, it was a commission. It was like the radio commissions I do. Really, in a way, I had about a month to write it. The best thing about it is that for me it was the several things, but getting to go to the site where Sycamore Gap was and find that it's this amazing memorial place. Like there is not another memorial place like it where some people are just passing through and then they see it, they see the stump and they see the fence and they're like, what's happened here? Some are there on purpose and they go there to grieve and they get to grieve. But some, because people have more feelings than one are available, aren't they? Some people are kind of almost joyful to be there. It's like visiting an old friend. And some people are a bit more like, but it's still alive. I mean, that was where I have been, but that's because I was writing about it. So I didn't, it's like I got to have accelerated emotions about the whole thing and then end up at the end in a hopeful place with a kind of deep time view of, yeah, but we're getting rid of lots of our wildlife and nature, and maybe these conversations are a good thing, even though this has been a tragic thing. So I'd much rather have written about that than had to separately deal with any feelings I may have had. I'm going on Friday actually again because it's the best place to hear people talk and feel than anywhere else I can think of being. So that was a beautiful accident, really. And as I say, I'm one of a team who made that. So there's a bit of a thing. I don't necessarily like this thing, even though it's to my advantage, I suppose. I'm the writer, my name is on the book, but I want my idea. I didn't do the pictures. I did do the writing.
It is
but
greater than the sum of its fabulous
yeah,
parts.
yeah,
It
definitely.
really is. And I love what I like about the writing as well is it weaves the place, the history, family, growth, regrowth, birth, rebirth. So all of those elements. It's such a beautiful object. And I've reconnected with poetry over the last 10, 15 years of my life. I think I've realized that the short burst of reading is so satisfying. It's like one of my favorite books of all time is not poetry, but is the David Eagleman book Some, because it's so dense. These short stories. I read short stories all the time, but this is a beautiful thing. A bit of Mithras in there, all the Romans, all the locals, and I'm taking that on board as a beautiful thing. I did find it very interesting myself because, as I say, things can grow again, can't they? And it's just, it's the we do, it's appropriately so. It's an outrageous thing that happened, but outrageous things happen everywhere. But this one caught fire, didn't it? Not literally, but yeah, I'm so glad I have that as an object. Thank you. But it didn't. So go back to to reframe a little bit. You can see my brain is firing now. When you said you haven't written, my brain said to me, you haven't told the story as a storyteller that I want to tell yet. And I think I'm edging closer to it, tiptoeing. I'm not brave enough yet, not unmasked enough. But how do you sit down? Are you like, are you one of these morning people? Are you a nighttime burn the candle? How do you do what you do? How do you achieve that?
I've never been a morning person. I used to be a nighttime burn the candle to meet the deadline at the last minute. I once wrote, and shall I tell you the worst thing I think I ever did as a writer?
Well, you threatened to say the worst thing earlier and you didn't. So, yes, you must.
So, and this connects to the story I haven't told, that maybe all my other writing has been a practice for doing. But so I nearly had a memoir of when I left home published in 2007. Had an agent, went through various publishers, but it was too close probably to being a misery memoir. And we got an offer from a misery memoir publisher and kind of didn't take it in the end. 2012, I still had that unpublished memoir, and I entered the Dyslexia first novel competition. And to enter that, you had to have 5,000 words of a novel and really the rest of the novel. And I thought, well, I'm not going to get anywhere anyway. And it'd be interesting to kind of try my 5,000 words out and maybe write about a girl growing up autistic but getting diagnosed, unlike what happened to me. So I write these 5,000 words, and then I hear I'm on the long list of 100. And could I supply the rest of the novel in a week? And I was like, oh, I haven't. And what at that time I needed was some permission and confidence around writing stuff that wasn't performance poetry. And I was chasing that. And so I said, could I have 10 days just to, like finish it off a bit? And then what I did for 10 days, almost without stopping, although I did have quite a lot of work in that time as well. But every other minute I wasn't working, I sort of did a cut and shut version, if you're a second-hand car person, where two halves of a written off car are mashed together. A cut and shut version of what the novel could have been and what my memoir was. And then it was shortlisted. So I did it in those 10 hyper focus ADHD. We have never put our brain to this one thing for so long type thing since our A levels. Shortlisted last of 12. The agent tries to get that published again. Thank goodness it wasn't published. It's not bad. I've just looked back at it. It's well written, but it doesn't hold as a novel. Of course it doesn't hold as a novel because it wasn't quite the story I needed to tell. One publisher, 2012, said, well, we had a novel like about autism and it didn't sell that well. So that was their kind of definitive view of, we've had one of those. I mean, I would like to think things have moved on a bit. Anyway, I did not.
Everyone's autistic these days. I say that from a position, I've sounded like an awful person,
Exactly.
as a diagnosed neurodivergent, and
Yes.
you know,
As a fellow traveller, exactly. No, I know. And actually, your journey, I know we're not talking about you, but your journey's at a really interesting point. And I do think for you, so we've got a definite parallel here. So just to go, right. So recently, I took myself off to Portugal because I went there last year to write a lot of the poems in Bigger on the Inside, the book, because I have discovered if I can swim and move in between periods of writing, I can healthily focus and write, and it's not a full on rigid routine, but I will generally tend to get up not dead early, 9 or 10, go to a cafe, get a coffee, make some initial notes, have another bit of a walk, make a few more notes, or make a start on that day's section. I did give myself a target of 1,000 words a day, which I beat every day, and that sort of internal deadline would not have worked for me up until pretty much this point in my life. Although I also did that with Where There's Muck There's Bras, that had a short deadline. I gave myself 2,000 words a day and I did it. But it was the moving, the swimming and the walking and then the writing and the being away. They're not come and have a coffee, do this other thing, be in this other place. It was just, I am doing that. And it's as if I've discovered this way of working. But I went away thinking, I know I've been really wanting to write some poems because I did this residency in January about neurodiversity and biodiversity, and yeah, that's the future. And some other part of me went, no, this is not why you're here. No. You know that story you're flipping still not told properly?
Swerving.
Now is the time. And I was a bit like, whoa, that bit of me that can say that and speak that, I am now more in touch with that bit of me. And it has taken a very long time because I'm 50 very soon. And I've been being a writer.
So young.
No, but a Ben. But it really, and I almost thought, so I've come home with 15,000 words of the memoir that isn't the messed up version for the dyslexia competition and isn't the sort of misery memoir version from 2007. And it has got neurodiversity in, and it's got now chapters and it's got then chapters, because I couldn't have told the story. I couldn't have told it before 2017 and Me Too, because society was not there. There are bits of it about being groomed and an older man, etc. I couldn't have told it until society, society in the broadest sense. We're not really talking, for example, the USA at this moment, but the society I'm in is at a certain place around neurodiversity. Well, I could have told it, but people weren't quite able to receive it, and I wasn't quite able to tell it in the right way. It may still not be published. It will be finished though. I know I'm finishing it this time, like for absolute certain. And it's as if my resources have all gone. Ooh.
So how can you continue the rigor when you're not in Portugal?
At the moment, that's an open question, because Portugal was the right conditions, and so this new bit of me that I'm in touch with that was presumably there all along, and I'm making it sound like it feels like a thing. This new bit's going, yeah, actually, like you're not supposed to just immediately crack back on with the memoir in that routine. You now need to do a bit of processing because you didn't know you were going to do that. And I'm like, whoa, new part of me that seems quite wise all of a sudden due to several years of trying to unmask and think about not burning out and think about connecting up with creative parts of me. Wow, new parts of me. Okay, that's interesting wisdom. What the flipping heck am I meant to do now then? There is like today, I've had a slight crisis of I'm not being productive. I'm not doing anything. Although I have been reading, actually, reading some things I probably wouldn't have been reading. It's like there's more than one me, obviously, but let's just, for simplicity's sake, the me talking now to you and this new, far more in touch with her creative self and needs and storytelling needs me, they're now in dialogue, and I'm taking more notice of that other me. And she used to pop up for the duration of a poem, sometimes, but usually she was just sitting there a bit silently going, oh, it'd be nice if I could like have a voice, thanks.
And that resonates with me, the parallel lives, masking, however we call it, the parallel people we are. Now, you've been doing a project, writing workshop, drop-in support with a focus. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I basically I've started running online creative writing workshops so my Monday night one is basically around exploring neurodiversity through creative writing and reading, and it's a way of bringing people who are neurodivergent or are exploring their possible neurodivergence to be together and think by writing and also by reading. And then Thursday afternoons it's a bit more, it's kind of sort of neurodiversity, but really it's also trying to read writers who might make us feel better about the world going to shit, in summary, and then write based on that. they're beginning to form communities, I think, which is exciting. I have run many workshops in my time, a heck of a lot of school workshops, but I could never really get excited about, we're going to write poems just for the sake of writing poems, so you can send them off to some poetry magazines that 3 people read, and then one day publish a pamphlet. Like, I was never excited about doing that. And again, the new part of me was probably the one going, run the workshop you'd want to go to then, you know. Oh, okay.
Oh, that's that's interesting. Run the workshop you'd want to go to. Find. I mean, I talk about this with young people. My background is education and young people. Um, you know, and my own children. Finding your tribe. That's always the kind of perhaps the sad excuse for being unhappy in school at a particular age, which I recall myself. You'll find your tribe. For me, it was youth theatre. Was my escape. That's when Gav was invented. Gavin Cross is neurodivergent, very neurodivergent. Gav Cross is the performer mask, the front. Gavin is still here all day, every day, but Gav Cross is so. But finding your tribe, and you do that through. Now, we're coming up to half an hour of chat, and it's really flown by. And no one has congratulated me for keeping quiet, which is very unusual for me because I've been so drawn into what you're saying, and I'm like storing it all away. But I would like, so if people want to ask a question, you can start thinking about that and start getting that typed, and maybe wait until I say send, if that's okay. We can get that in. But before then, I have 2 questions. One, your podcast, which has just it's the title. So it's like this one. When I first read it, I thought I'm never going to remember that. I immediately remember it because it resonates so much. And the title being,
Neurotypicals don't juggle chainsaws.
why would they?
Exactly.
Tell us about that. And then I have one last question if there aren't any, but there will be because there's lots of nice people here.
I suppose the podcast was a bit like, for years I've thought, I love radio, I love sound. Why aren't I doing a podcast? Everyone's doing a podcast, but there wasn't a thing I wanted to do until I met Nick in the audience at my Bigger on the Inside show a couple of years ago, where the new version of the show that you haven't seen, that's a bit kind of revived, because the audience, the neurodivergent congregation in that audience in 2023 was
I'm sorry. I said I wouldn't interrupt you. The word congregation is so appropriate at this time. I've heard you say it on the podcast. And I was like, yes,
yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. And it was Sasha, who is on Instagram as Bucky Weirdo, who said that she felt like she was in that congregation. Once they exist, well, there needs to be a podcast for them. And actually, when Nick suggested it, I thought, yeah, we can do this without. I mean, it's so beautifully easy and faff free. We talk for half an hour, only half an hour. We want to keep it short, and we'll kind of come up with a topic. We have a list, but then we might go, oh, there was you can be, what was it? Autistic people can be knobheads too, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. How many times did you have to resist saying, we will not say his name?
Oh, I know. Well, I'm happy to say his name, but
you can say his name.
Nick doesn't want us to talk about him. Exactly. But then that is the worst autistic person in the world, as Fergus Murray once said. Is it the space? Yeah. I know. I mean, in a way, product placement, kind of. We should use that as a meme, but we're not encouraging the existence of Elon Musk. But yeah, it's, and people write to us and they say that they are not like people. So I generally, I don't listen to podcasts particularly, because I consume information much quicker and much with fewer spoons by reading it. But people will say, I listen and it's like you're talking to me, or I've binged them, or, I've not heard people talking about this stuff and I've been diagnosed, and it feels like, good. We're doing something useful.
I could thoroughly recommend it. It's one of those podcasts that, the way I consume podcasts is, I'll save it till it's about 3 or 4, and then bang, 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 and then I'll go to a different one, and then it's bang, 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 and then so I get it in those bursts. Right. So if you do have a question for Kate, Send it now. While I ask, I do not believe in the notion of the guilty pleasure. I want to ask you what your comfort places are. What's the content? What a horrible word, but we know what's the book, the film, the TV show, the music. That is your comfort place.
My comfort. I've just watched one of them earlier before we did the show. It's very gentle things on BBC normally, like Pilgrimage.
Oh
7 celebrities chat about their faith
yeah.
and they walk in lovely landscapes and there is swirling music and they all talk to each other about their different opinions and feelings and stuff. And it's so nice. And it's been on every year for 4 years and it's made me happy every time. And there's a lot of telly I can't watch that's not comforting. I've never the ADHD bit of me seems to struggle with repetition. So that thing of this is my book that I always read, or this is my same TV series I'm watching again, I can't do. Even Doctor Who, which I love, and I'm not going to say is that's not comfort, that's more stimulating than that. Even that, there's not many episodes I've watched more than twice or even once. Anyway, also Race Across the World. BBC, celebrities, people go in places, not house shows, that's not very comforting. It used to be. Don't Tell the Bride used to be comforting, actually, as a formulaic thing, but then it became a bit too daft. So I do, and that's, I don't think I have comfort books or comfort radio or comfort music. All those things are about stimulation and dopamine. But yeah, relaxing BBC telly. And I was thinking my life used to be more like somehow like when I was married, and I was married for 10 years, the feel of life was a bit more like a relaxing BBC inspiring thing somehow. And I'm not I think I'm in the right place now doing what I'm doing now. But there was something about that type of life somehow.
So you want to, leaning into your um, weekday afternoon iPlayer life. Now, could I ask you, see if there's again your chance to type in a question, ask Kate a question, to read something for her? And I have requested a particular poem. Would you mind setting that up and introducing it and then reading it?
Yeah, and just to check, actually, I should have checked with the title.
Yeah.
You said the one about neurodivergent people performing. Is it The Stage?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never read this in a gig. No one's ever asked me about it. Never read it out. I'm so happy to. I think it's something you would ask about because you're interested in performance process. Yeah, no, happily. The Stage. The stage belongs to people who flicker like early holograms, who don't know who they are from 1 minute or month to the next and say things like, I don't always agree with myself, to people who can untangle the cat's cradle of invisible lines between themselves and audience members in big coats, to people who forget they can do this in black boxes with bits of old masking tape and chalk marks on the floor, and stay entirely silent if they themselves are in the audience and responses have been called for, who forget they can smooth the wires illuminated by overhead gels into tracks between themselves and the people in the dark, into the predictable forms of maps, photographs, memories, or a plan of a city grid at night, seen from the air as if they were pilots descending, stomach still feeling the fall after all this time.
Thank you. Tell me about that. Where did that come from for you?
I am really interested in the process of being a performer on the stage and how you actually can make connection, even if you are in performance mode, even in a persona, and even in a mask. And reading that poem has just reminded me that, that the other Kate who I talked about, who the creatively newly unmasked one, was she did write that poem, like that she totally wrote that poem because she's very interested in the in and out of the, and it starts off with an image of me flickering in and out like a hologram thing. don't always agree with myself, which is something I've said more than once. I said it in an audience debate once. I kind of believed something at the start when I was on a panel, and then actually disagreed with myself later on. You move. It makes me think of the ADHD me. I have to say that the movable, shimmery, fluid, nervous energy me. But actually, then if you come down into this presence, these moments of stillness and silence and depth, maybe you can connect with that audience who otherwise seem far away.
It's very resonant to me. I am currently, as a recently emerging, unmasking, diagnosed person, I'm still plumbing the shallows of my own creativity and enjoying it. But that really did resonate with me. And also, there was so many plates spinning in it, but I could see them all. So thank you very much for that. So as we draw this to a close, Kate, if there are any questions, now is the time for you, the chance for you to ask Kate. And, and I'm so grateful because I am a fan, whatever that word means. Your writing, your podcasting, your performance work resonates, and also it entertains. And it's a word I describe myself as a turn. And I think the fundamentals of engaging with anything culturally, even if it's difficult, is it entertaining, if that's the right word, a particular part of the brain, whatever it might be, firing. So I'm a fan. I'm very excited for the work that you're going to be making. Are you still digging about in the soil? Because you did a project about soil that pops up. You have a very entertaining Instagram where all your different projects pop in and out at different times.
Me and soil were still, once you've been commissioned to do one poem about soil, then you will get a commission where someone wants you to go to a community garden in Bradford over the summer to hang out with the community gardeners. Very happy about this. Love it.
Yeah.
And no, go on.
I was going to say Kate Fox, soil poet. Poet of the earth. Sorry.
Soil herself regularly on stage. Yeah. And just remember, I'm wanting to come back to a thread actually, and it draws some things together. So, I would struggle. I would feel unhappy if I thought I was producing things that were not entertaining. Because even personally, I need the dopamine fix of things. But so my new life direction, that is still quite new, is to be able to. Now I've built up the craft to be able to do it, to build up more confidence in my ability to hold space for other feelings, like, for example, sadness and grief, and to know that I can move between and orchestrate an audience to be okay and going on that journey with me, and me to be okay and going on that journey. And I think, Gav, that is where we have something in common, because I think it's as if, for me, you're building up many types of craft. That's the other thing. When people just talk about poetry as only an art, yeah, but it's a craft, isn't it? And performance is a craft. But once you build up the craft, then you could many more. Your canvas becomes a lot broader, I think.
It is. And as I work a lot with young people and families, and they mistake me for a writer. But they ask me, and very often I get that question: how do I be a writer? And it is so corny, but it's so true. I love it. If a young person has written something, it's like, well, you are a writer. I mean, you have to do it again, and this is brilliant, and you will get better. But you are a writer, because all a writer does is write, and then they get better at that. And then you've got to do the next thing, which is really difficult, that you've done already. You've shown it to someone else. And this little cycle of creativity, so many people have that desire, and the next step is to share it and then do it again, accept what was the strength of it and do it again. And I'm really excited. There's a story yet to be told, yet to be written. So it's going to be, so what did we say? Poet, performer, journalist, stand-up comedian, activist, novelist.
Oh no, it's going to be non-fiction. No, maybe not. That was
the earlier version.
That was the earlier version.
Oh, that'll come. What's the word? We don't want memoir, misery memoir. We want, what's the word it's going to be? It's going to be
Oh, is a better word than memoir. But transformative story of. It's
yeah. This is what this is where
you
the
need a
crafting's going to come in. Bit more crafting.
just a writer. Can you
Of a
let
writer.
us be at that point? To be honest, in a weird sort of way, at that point, now I am writing that because we
Pure.
our things, don't we? I feel like that is me as writer.
Thank you, Kate. Thank you so much for this time. I've really valued it. One of the reasons, people suggest, I saw it on Substack saying, people just want to interview you for the podcast so they can leech off you your creativity. And I'm like, yeah, that's exactly. But I hope and I know that other people would have found that really interesting and really insightful as well. So I'm going to say thank you, Kate. Is there anything you want to share, promote? The workshops, you do that on your website?
That's
Through your website?
Sign up to the newsletter, which you can do via my website, katefox.co.uk, or find me on social media, Kate Fox Writer, and there'll be a link somewhere to the newsletter, and then you get the Zoom link every week and can just drop in.
Magical. Thank you so much. This will be on Substack, but it also goes on to YouTube as well. So I'm going to say, Kate, you need another cup of tea, I'm sure.
I'll crack.
Thank you so much.
Been lovely.
I'm glad it's been lovely because it's been lovely for me too. But I am going to tap the X now, and I'm just going to be here for another minute, wrapping it up. But thank you, Kate. Bye bye. Ah, there we go. Oh my goodness me, that was genuinely fascinating for me, and such an impressive individual, and so inspiring. And can heartily recommend the texts, the books. This is very funny. You need to find out who Cartimandua is. Yeah, you need to find out who Cartimandua is if you don't know already. Thank you very much for being here. There's another conversation booked in for next week. Helen Jeffrey, who's a playwright and a poet, and they will be here. And then I have other people to announce because I think I'd like to carry on with this. So please subscribe. I have no intention of making this a paid thing at all. Please subscribe, and I apologize because I don't quite know how. I should have set up a Substack only email address for all my subscriptions, so I apologize if I contact too much. Places you can find me, well, there's my link tree. I'm a storyteller. I make noises to people, but I'm doing silly things as well as tell me your story over on TikTok, and I might post it here. I've started a thing called myth boasting, that I'm a myth boaster, and I've recorded one of those today, and I read ghost stories live on Twitch, and then I put them on YouTube, Victorian and Edwardian ghost stories, and not the usual writers. No. Diverse, interesting, intriguing writers. If you like a supernatural story, come and join us. Thanks, Barry. Thank you so much for being here. If you are here, if you do have any questions, now's the time. If not, well, that's the rest of your evening done. Join us next week, and send me a message if you want to know anything. But do give Kate a follow, and do get a chance to go and see the live work. Bigger on the inside is amazing. Right then, let's press the button because I need a cup of tea now as well. Bye bye.